Welcome to the Kirkpatrick Podcast, bridging traditions and trends in learning and performance evaluation. Whether you're a seasoned learning professional or just starting out, join us as we dive into the Kirkpatrick model like never before. Through stories and insights, we are fusing time-honored methods with cutting-edge innovations to help you navigate the ever-evolving world of learning and performance evaluation. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Kirkpatrick Podcast. It's Vanessa and Jim. Hi, Jim.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
And we are back to talk about buy-in, which is, again, one of the most frequently asked questions I think that we get. I would say number one frequently asked question for you, Jim, is probably, how do you actually measure level 4?
I've heard that one a few times. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably your number one, but I think the number two is, how do I get my senior leaders to buy into what it is that we're doing and evaluation and all the good things. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And so we started off chatting about, your peers in your department or, in your organization. And then we talked about the line managers, but now we're going to be talking about, those senior leaders and executives. Sound good? Feel good?
I'm liking it so far. Hope everybody is too.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope you all have gotten some good tips. And I'm excited to be talking about this one in particular because I think it's probably trying to convince a senior leader to buy into something is actually probably one of my secret strengths. Did you know this?
Well, I'm listening.
Well, it's a question I get often, right? Like, how do I get my executive to buy in? How do I get my manager to buy in? And I think that there are a lot of different ways to do that. But the one that I think people, and I mean this lovingly, friends, the one that I think that we discount, but is actually the most effective is building a relationship with that person. And to then get them to buy into what it is that you're talking about. I think often we try to hit our senior leaders and our managers with our ideas, but we haven't built that trust yet, because what it is that you're asking them to do is change how you do everything. You know what I mean? How they work. In people's minds, evaluation is more work and it's more difficult, right? And it's the idea of data and numbers and doing all these extra things, and adding, again, more work on your plate. And so I think when we lead with that, as opposed to lead with the relationship and really get to understand and know the person and what makes them tick, and what it is that they find important, what it is that they find to be what's going to be valuable, and how this is going to help them do their job. It's just my favorite part because it's just about getting to know someone else.
Would you
And I
do
love
me a
getting to know
favor?
people.
Would you do everybody a favor here? You started to, and you've given some tips. Building a relationship. Everybody has different ideas what they mean. Could you tell us how you do it?
Oh, okay. Great question. So, actually this morning I was talking about it on my morning walk, and so I was in a sorority in college, and in a sorority, you have to recruit more members, and we have formal and informal recruitment, and you have a bunch of people that come to your event, and you don't really know who it is that is coming, and you don't know the person that you're going to end up talking to often. And so one of the things that I said that I loved about the experience, and people will say, we bought your friends and you did this. I actually bought the ability to get to know anybody because of this recruitment process. Because at the end of the day, even though with some people it may feel really hard to find something in common with that person, we have something in common with every single person. It may be harder to find that thing that we have in common with someone. You may have to dig a little bit deeper, but you can find something in common with the person that you are, looking to connect with, looking to have a relationship with. And that is where you start, and that is where you build. And I think the other aspect of it, and it's something that I take very seriously, and I truly just, it's like who I am at my core. I like getting to know other humans.
And
And so you have to be able to do that.
And let me tell you
Mhm.
that that when you and I first met, first time we met in the office in Noonan, Georgia, we had talked some, but after about 5 minutes, I had the strangest feeling that I have known you before, but I haven't. But what it is you have that that charisma, but somebody doesn't have to be born super charismatic to pull this off, do they?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it's a matter of, and we did recruitment workshops, right? Like we all had to learn, and as extroverted as I may seem, on paper, I am one of those, I think they call them like ambiverts or whatever. Sometimes I'm extroverted and sometimes I'm like, I just need to go into my room and be by myself, right? It's like too much peopling for me today. And then these are just the skills that I learned. I was able to learn how to find that connection with the other person, and take a genuine interest. One of the things that I love to start with is, people want to talk about themselves, asking them, where are you from? How did you get your start in your career? How's your day going? And, what is something that you're really excited that you're working on? All these questions help to give you a little bit of insight that then I'm going to use, especially that last question, what it is that you're excited that you're working on, or what's a challenge that you're facing right now. These are things that I'm going to then store in my mind and say, okay, these are things that I can use to help build my case as to why this is what we should be doing. Because if you're challenged with this and my solution, my recommendation is a potential solution or part of that solution, then I'm helping you with your job and I'm helping you make your job easier.
And you know what, Vanessa? People that have watched some of our other podcasts see that we have something in common, and that we listen, not just go, oh, that's interesting. I may say something that you come back to. You say, Jim, you mentioned about building bridges. What do you mean by that? And I heard you, the same thing before. I asked you, could you say more about that? And you know what that code is? That is code for I heard you. And I'm not just going to let it go by. I'm going to come back and say, wait a minute. I want to hear more about that. And I can't think of a better technique. And it's genuine. You and I do it just because we've done it for forever. It's a technique that says, I listened to you. I heard you. Tell me more about it. And I can't think of anything that builds relationship and builds trust faster than that. And the whole thing here, these last 3 podcasts are about building trust with our peers, with line managers, and with senior leaders. That will be the foundation, the bedrock of working together and accomplishing things that we want and complain that we can't because we can't get any buy-in. And I just want to make one thing real clear about buy-in from Kirkpatrick. This is not somebody signing off. Oh, okay, Vanessa, I'll buy in on that. Here's your funding for it. No, we're talking about having people sign on to it. We're recruiting them to be part of it in this ongoing relationship. A relationship's not an event; it is ongoing, and that really is the key at any level of how we can get work done better.
Well, do you want me to give a big Kirkpatrick secret out?
I guess.
I know this one maybe this is a spicy one, but here I'm just going to put it out there because I believe in authenticity and transparency. We still have to do a lot of creating buy-in. Even though we're the Kirkpatricks, and I may not have the last name, but I feel like at this point I'm a Kirkpatrick. We still have to work on gaining buy-in with senior leaders and executives, just because the model's been around almost 70 years and, you've done so much work and your father's done so much work and has given so much and you've written, worked with OPM on their field guide and you've done this and done that. We still have to create buy-in. People still don't buy into it, so it's not something that you just one day. There's no given, there's no guarantee. You have to continuously work on building your relationship so people understand that you're coming from a genuine place, and what it is that you're recommending and what it is that you want to do
Ah,
is something that comes from a genuine place.
that is great. And I think the word just appeared in my mind is truth. We're
Mhm.
not only saying, I saw you do that, that's terrific, but hopefully we've earned the right to say, there's some things that are happening that you're involved with that I think could go better. Is it okay if we
Mhm.
talk about that? So
Yeah.
truth has to be both ways, and truth leads to trust, which leads to this to wonderful things happening.
One thing that you do often, and you just did now, and I think people don't do enough, is you ask permission.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we talk about this?
Yep.
And I think often when it comes to wanting to get that meeting with our manager or with our senior leader, or even just another colleague, are you open to having this conversation? Because we often don't know what happens behind closed doors or what's in someone's email inbox or what happened, with with their bosses. And, even the CEO has a boss. It's all of their customers, So everyone has someone that they are reporting to in some way, shape, or form, that we don't know what happens in those conversations that may be affecting whether or not someone is open to having that conversation in that moment.
And you know what else about that? If you come to me, you or anybody, I can be very defensive. Oh, I can put up a shield quick as anybody. And I think you're going after me or something. Up it
Yeah.
goes, and I'm not going to listen. But if you give me a little advance warning and say, "Is it okay?" Then I can kind of prepare myself and say,
Mhm.
"Okay, I'm ready for it." But if it catches me off guard and it catches millions of people off guard, instantly the shield goes up and it's not coming down. So
Oh,
just
yeah.
that little pause. Okay, let me just get settled. You even said, "Can I tell a secret about Kirkpatrick?" You didn't just start blurting it out,
Mm.
and I trust you. It wouldn't be something bad about me or something. But good. Okay, yeah, let me get settled for.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Yeah,
And it's so
absolutely.
simple to do that, but it is not
Mhm.
regular practice with people in relationships. It's a lost art.
It is. And unfortunately, right, we go to school to learn the theories and things like that. And what we don't necessarily go to school for is how to work with others, and how to build those relationships. How do we build trust? And that's just something that you learn over time. And it's something that there is an art to it. But again, like you said earlier, it's not something that is only for certain people, right? We all find what works for us and how to build relationships that work best for us and our personality. And it may look different, but underneath it, all the principles and the foundations are still all the same.
No, I have two other tips that have come to mind very recently.
Hmm.
One was when we were recording the last podcast about building buy-in with line managers.
Hmm.
One good way to get buy-in from senior leaders is to have those line managers have stories of success that we have been involved with, and they become our advocates and they become our witness. And their testimony says, "Man, you should work with Vanessa. She has really helped my people do their job better," and that creates big buy-in from the senior
Oh,
leaders.
yeah,
And the
absolutely.
second one, the last couple of days, I've been working with the State Department in Washington D.C. And what it did is had a senior leader come in and
Hmm.
see what was going on, rather than, "Oh, take my word for it," or take someone's word. Look at the metrics that we're getting. Let them see it for themselves. And I think it made a difference, because then I'm kind of melting back into the room while what they learned they're presenting and they're shining, and the senior leader looks at me and says, "Good job."
Hmm.
And so any chance you can get them others to be witnesses for them, line managers or the participants themselves, and they can witness it and see it with their own eyes, I'm telling you, it's a great force multiplier for future.
Yeah, what it is, you're asking for social proof. You know, you know me, I'm a marketing gal at heart. Didn't study it, probably should have, but a lot of my a lot of my the way that I think and see the world is either in learning or in marketing, like there's no in between, or in TikTok sounds. And what people are looking for when they want to buy is social proof. No one wants to be the first to try anything if they don't know it's going to work, because what they're doing is putting their reputation on the line. We're saying if you want to start evaluating differently or you want to start doing a different initiative, you're asking them to do something that moves them out of their comfort zone. They don't necessarily have proof is going to work. So we're asking them to stick their neck out on the line, and
Yes.
put their reputation on the
Yes.
line.
And you
And
know
so
what
that's,
then?
yeah.
Then we better, you all you had better be students of the Kirkpatrick model, because they're only going to take your goodwill and conversation so long. You got to put up or shut up here. What
Mm-hmm.
that means is run a pilot program with them
Yep.
involved, recruit them to be involved, and make sure, don't just use traditional methods or it won't work very well. But the model that we have and we have evolved over time is one that will almost guarantee success if you follow our bronze and silver programs and our methodology, our
Mm-hmm.
strategy. Then seeing is believing.
Right.
There's something
It's,
else,
oh,
Vanessa. I got to tell you,
yeah.
everybody, look at this.
Oh,
Everybody see
you're
this?
hot. You're hot under the collar today.
Well, I'm hot. Look at this. Everybody see that? That's our outline for our podcast script. She 20 minutes ago she made a paper airplane out of it and just
Oh, she
sailed it
does all the
away. And
time.
we're just kind of talking now, aren't we?
Yeah.
About the things
Jim,
that were in there anyway.
let's it still on target on task, but you know me, I always,
Oh, I know we
then
are.
things just happen. So what I will say about the pilot and that I love that you shared is the idea of doing something small. So I do a lot of speaking about how to utilize short form video in your learning. And people are like, well, how do I get people to do this? Like such a different style. And I'm like, do something small. Start with your department, create something for your team. Show someone on a small scale how it could be done, because then you can move it on to a bigger scale from there. And so I think that's where you can start taking that buy-in. Again, it's that proof that this can work, which makes someone more more willing to stick their neck out on the line.
And you know what else? Listen carefully to the language they use and try and replicate that. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
jumping in with learning solutions and competency models, and we got some great upskilling kind of things, because what you're basically doing is, well, you've got your own language, I've got my own language that I'm going to speak. We want to really hear and listen to performance. We want to listen to leveraging resources. We want to listen to, what they're saying shows that we're listening and we're one of them. We're no longer just someone that's at the cost center on the other side of the bridge.
Absolutely. And I think one thing about the language that's important that I don't think we talk about enough is the fact that when we're using our language, it can sound too academic and people don't understand it. And it's actually more off-putting than it is.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to be educational and supportive and helpful. And I think it comes from a good place. However, the person hearing it, the person receiving the information isn't getting that same sense. And so because they may not understand what it is exactly that you're talking about or you mean, that's also when the wall comes up. So I love what you're sharing there about the language and mirroring the language that you're using to what they're using and prioritizing their language.
Yeah,
Speaking of mirroring, actually, there's a tip I saw this morning, a
oh,
TikTok video. And it was about sales actually, and how to bring down, make it, sell, almost anything, right? And really get someone to like you in a sales presentation, because in sales, and just like this is basically what we're talking about, right? You're trying to sell your idea. And in any sort of sales, you have to make the person like you in some way, shape, or form. And what they said was similarly to mirroring the language, mirror their body language.
go
And
on.
yeah, it was very interesting because the person shared, like, even if you notice that the person that you're speaking with is like arms crossed, a little bit abrupt or off-putting, your instinct and I will tell you 1,000% it is mine, is to be open and more bubbly, to try to bring that guard down. And actually the person said, try the opposite. Mimic what it is that they're seeing. They're going to start to see themselves in you. And then you'll see the guard down. So if they're being a little abrupt with you, be a little abrupt back. If they're crossing their arms, cross your arms too. And then you'll see that they'll, again, start to see yourself. If they're being more bubbly, then you'll want to match energy and be a little bit more bubbly. And again, they'll start to see you, themselves in you, and that helps to build that trust as well. And so I thought that was a really interesting, as I was thinking about it and knowing what we were going to be talking about today, I'm like, that's exactly how you can gain some of that buy-in, is mirroring not only the language, but their body language.
I never thought of that.
I know.
I'm going to try it. When next time I'm fishing with my friends, I'm going to try and mimic the way they're. Well, no, seriously, I've never heard that. I've never thought of it, but it sure makes sense.
Yeah, it's a power of learning from others. That's why I love sharing knowledge and community, because
Really?
This is how you can learn from others. And not to shamelessly plug, but shameless plug. This is what, I'm so excited about with the Kirkpatrick Summit in June, is having, we're building a lot of opportunity for people to share and have conversation, come with their challenges, and also not just your challenges, come with your wins. Because I can learn how you overcame an obstacle, I'm going to be able to learn from that as well. We're not going to all be experts. We're not going to all have all of the experiences. We have to learn from others to build up our experience and build up that the tool belt. And so I think that the summit will be a great place to do that, and to learn from each other, not just the speakers.
One last thing I have a thought about this is, some people may think, oh, this topic is not for me. Senior leaders, I'm in a big organization, a federal agency or something. I don't get a chance to talk to senior leaders. Well, don't be looking at the org chart and thinking you've got to get to the secretary of the organization, but just be upward seeking. Just introduce yourself with respect and with interest. And take that chance. It really won't be much of a chance if you just listen. You're not trying to give them advice, but just be working upward to create bridges that, who knows how high they'll go, and how you'll become more influential and more trusted, and just stretch yourself a little.
Yeah, really. I like the way you're saying that. You're saying, also, you don't necessarily have to come up with a solution the first time you have a conversation. You can just have a conversation with them, start to get to know them, and then build up to providing that solution.
And you know what? They're not ready to hear a solution unless we built up some of that first. I really think we jumped too quick. And I had a conversation with Stephen Covey Sr. once about that, talking about how overeager we are to sell them a new model or a new LMS or some new competency model or something, and they're not ready to buy until we spend time.
Absolutely.
Simple
and know
as
that sometimes you can sell, and they might not be ready to buy at that moment, and it may feel like a no, and you may feel like you lost. But maybe, if you continue to work on that relationship, it's something that can happen later on. It might not have been the right time then, but that right time can come 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line.
That's good.
Yeah. Jim, any other tips that you have to build buy-in with senior leaders and executives?
Yes. One is to be knowledgeable about what is important to them ahead of time. Study the core values of the organization, study the strategic plan, the mission, the vision, and give it thought about how you might, not obviously, but weave some of those things in and saying, these are the things we're trying to work on, and I think that you go armed with information rather than saying, oh, really? I didn't know that was our vision. Oh, really? I never looked at our, but to have that ahead of time, do your homework, so it can naturally flow together and you can respond intelligently with that. I think that's good. Do your homework ahead of time.
Awesome. Well, Jim, I think we're going to leave it there. I thought that was a really great last tip. Thank you for allowing me to take the outline and throw it right out the window.
That was a
Um,
compliment. I want you to know that. That
Oh, I
was.
believe it. I believe it.
Okay.
But I hope that you all got some actionable tips and some feedback about the next time you go and have a conversation with a senior manager or an executive. And just know, again, they're just people just like you, and they want to get to know you too. And just try to just have a little bit of a conversation with someone. It doesn't have to be like your CEO, like Jim said, it could be a senior VP. Try there, and then you can work your way up.
Right.
But eventually you will get there. We know that you can. Friends, thank you so much for watching and listening. We cannot wait to talk to you next week, and to talk about how we can transform training. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.